there, Squirrel Army, how's it going? For today we're talking about Sophia, Dogged Detective.
You can join the Squirrel Army by subscribing.
Alright, Sophia, 1 and green, white and blue, 3/4. When it enters the battlefield, we create a dog, a 2/2 dog with trample, and we can sacrifice an artifact token to put a counter on a dog we control. Whenever a dog we control deals combat damage to a player, we create food tokens. We create a food token and then we investigate. So it feels a little like Minsk and Boo-ish, like a little bit. Yeah. The dog is legendary, so we can't really create token copies of it. So, like, initially it's going to be pretty small, I feel, because it has to deal combat damage for us to make food and to make clues. Like, for 4 mana on 2 bodies, you're getting quite a bit of power, especially with the fact that the dog can grow pretty well once you kind of get it set up. But I feel like you're going to have to kind of jump through that hoop of just sacrificing artifacts and whatnot to this just to kind of get the dog in, unless you're running things that say creatures you control with +1 counters have flying or trample or whatever else. Like, but then again, the dog actually has trample, but still. Or just put 5 counters on target creature or something. I don't know. Or, you know, like you can obviously run the ones that say when something gets a counter, it gets 2 counters, or it gets double the counters, or whatever, that sort of stuff. But it almost feels like, again, you kind of want to do double tokens as well, because otherwise you kind of run out of gas for, like, being able to actually draw cards and that sort of thing or whatnot, and be able to play enough mana and things like that. It's a very weird way to almost have a Voltron deck as well. Like, again, like, the dog is legendary, so that's a bit weird. I don't know. But that's the way that I kind of look at it. It's a very odd sort of commander, and I said it sort of feels like Minsk and Boo, where this is the Planeswalker Minsk and the dog tokens, the real thing that's coming at you and whatnot. I don't think it's as good as Minsk and Boo, but it could be. I'm not too sure. Once you start getting that dog rolling, it's going to be hard to stop. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's going to be so difficult, like, in the initial, like, starting turns to get that ball rolling, unless you're willing to just, like, have a whole bunch of other artifacts that you're willing to kind of sacrifice to the dog. And that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm kind of a bit weird with this one. Like, this guy or girl could have 0 power and just some toughness or whatever. Like, the dog, again, the dog's the real thing that's meant to be attacking or meant to be doing stuff, and this one's just kind of like, when I enter, I make the dog, and when you sacrifice things, you put counters on the dog, and when the dog does stuff, you get stuff from me. You know, like, so of course you could go down, like, the Academy Manufacturer route and, like, just, like, run as many things that generate, like, treasures, clues, food, anything that's already an artifact as well, or whatnot, those sorts of things. Even gold. Gold's one of the ones that people kind of forget about as well, because there's not that many things that honestly make gold that are too amazing. But still, yeah, I'm not too sure, because again, it feels like you're very, like, all in on the dog. It's actually on each dog you control, so that's actually pretty good. So you could just run a whole bunch of, like, bad dogs or whatever. I don't know whether there's that many dogs that are in these colors. I'm sure there's a couple. Well, Ren and Seri exist, so I'm sure there'd be still dogs that would be in blue as well, I guess. I don't know how many of them are, like, good or playable or anything, because I've never looked at it. But that's the thing, like, that does make some amount of sense. But then, like, are you doing too many things? Like, I feel like you're already trying to, like, put a whole bunch of artifacts in this deck and trying to double your artifacts and double your counters and all of that sort of stuff so you can get more value onto your dog, and just running a whole bunch of extra dogs, you know, along with ramp and removal and that sort of thing, feels like it's starting to become like, wow, this deck will be absolutely jam-packed if you really put too many dogs in there. Like, you could put 1 or 2 dogs in there that are really good. I don't know any of the dogs that are really good, so good luck with that. But still, like, yeah, you could do that, but still, I feel like you're starting to run out of room at that point once you've got your token doublers, your counter doublers, that sort of stuff, your mana rocks, your removal, and all of that sort of stuff. So, and you're, like, just clue, fluid, whatever, extra generators and things like that, or just artifacts in general, that you feel like, yeah, that's fine, I can put that to the grave because when it entered it did a thing, or when I put it to the graveyard it also did a thing, or whatever, that sort of stuff. It doesn't have to do that much to be alright. So, yeah, I can sort of see some of the things that you could kind of put in this deck, but I'm kind of like, besides, like, obvious the dog kills, like, how do you win? Like, you're just hoping for the dog to stick around and this guy to stick around. So you're, like, instead of protecting one thing, you've now got to protect 2 things to really have one Voltron sort of commander, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't know. Plus, it's got a mana gate. The mana gate's pretty small, but still, it's got that mana gate there. So you've got to have mana to pay for that mana gate. So, yeah, I don't know. It does feel like a little bit disjointed in some ways. I don't know. That's me. That's the way that I look at it. But it is interesting to see that it's each dog gets a counter. So, I don't know. If you, like, it'd be funnier if you could almost avoid the legendary rule with the token, because, like, that's an easier way to kind of get more and more dogs on the field. Or just, yeah, again, like the parallel lives, whatever style of stuff, get more dogs anyway, and, yeah, punch through with your dogs eventually at some point. Or even, like, again, like, your dogs can block. So you got chumping dogs, perhaps, that are a little bit smaller or whatever, and just, like, they'll get counters at some point or whatever. I don't know whether there's any artifact dogs. That'd be interesting, though. But, yeah. You guys, as always, can let me know what you think. Write your thoughts down there in the comments below. What do you think about this? And always go to the poll that I've made for all of these commanders to tell me which one you want to see built into a deck the most, so I can figure out building it for you if you want it. Because, of course, I wouldn't build this. But, again, if people ask me or vote for something to be built, then I build it. So that's the way it works. But anyway, guys, hope you've enjoyed this one and hope you'll join me again in another one.